The Bruins are off to their worst start since 1997 at 0-2, and in last Saturday's home opener, not so much. A 35-0 shutout loss over Stanford. Welcome to the first show for UCLA What's Bruin? I'm Jonathan Khamis, being joined by UCLA beat writer Scott Reid. And, I mentioned that home opener, Scott, not exactly what Bruin fans were excited and looking for.
But maybe a sign of things to come. They have 10 games left. 6 against teams in the top 25, another tough game at Washington, Thursday night game, another tough place to play. So they're looking at potentially a very long season.
Yeah, and they're going to play Houston upcoming, and that's just part of the Texas two-step because then they're at Texas, which is a national title favorite. Now, what can you tell us about Houston going into that matchup?
The big question with Houston is Case Keenum, the Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback they have, who's right now questionable with a concussion. He took a blow to the head in the third quarter of their win the other night against UTEP, and is whether he's going to be able to play is a big question mark, although I kind of expect to see him out there Saturday night. Now,
UCLA has some injuries of their own. They actually had a player suffer a concussion, Derrick Coleman. How's he doing? He took a really rough tumble.
It was a pretty scary moment.
Yeah,
They carried him off on a stretcher. They took him to a local hospital. Everything is fine. He has a neck sprain and a mild concussion, but he's doubtful for this week, which means Jonathan Franklin, the sophomore, and Malcolm Jones, a highly touted freshman, are going to see a lot more of the ball.
Now, speaking of Malcolm Jones, I thought when he did play in that opener, he played well. Do the Bruins need to go to Malcolm Jones more?
A lot of the fans think so. I think with the mix of Franklin and Jones is a good mix, going to keep people off balance. You may even see Jordan James this weekend, who's another highly touted freshman who looked really good in practice on Tuesday.
Now, speaking of running backs, the Cougars feature one of the best out there. Tell us about him.
Beal ran for 195 yards against UTEP last week, but it's UTEP, and the Conference USA is kind of like a poor man's WAC, and as much as UCLA has struggled on defense this year, I'm still curious to see how he does against a Pac-10 caliber team.
Now, a lot of people are down on UCLA's pistol offense right now, but Rick Neuheisel said, you know what, maybe we've taken the passing game for granted. What can the Bruins do to initiate more passing game in that pistol?
Well, the receivers need to start catching the ball.
Yeah,
that'd be a big start. They had 8 drops in the loss at Kansas State in the first game. Kevin Prince looked a lot more mobile yesterday. He was banged up almost from the very beginning of training camp with a bad back. Then after Kansas State, he re-injured a shoulder he had problems with last year. But on Tuesday, his mobility looked a lot better, and I think you're going to see a lot different quarterback Saturday night.
All right, let's get to our predictions of the game, Scott. I think UCLA is going to bounce back as far as not being shut out because Houston scores so much. They have to put up some points, right? 38-21, I see Houston winning this one. What about you?
I see UCLA pulling it out, actually.
Okay.
I'm not sure on a score, but I just think that UCLA is due. There's an energy in camp this week, and I just think as much as they've struggled, I think UCLA has a lot better caliber athlete.
Well, let's get to our reader question of the week, and this comes from Mike. He asks, Neuheisel and Schauer supposedly offensive minds, but seemingly different approaches and/or philosophies. Do you see a conflict between the two, and could this be a part of the offensive struggles?
I don't think there's a conflict there. They're not always on the same page. Like Rick said on Sunday night, there was going to have a quarterback competition between Prince and Richard Brayo, and it was apparently news to Chow, who yesterday said in his mind that Prince was the quarterback all along. But they're working in the same direction. I don't think there's a rift there. And the problem is not a personality conflict. I think the problem is they've been banged up, and like Neuheisel said, they probably should have paid more attention to the passing game in the preseason.
Yeah, we'll see who gets more of those reps, Kevin Prince or Richard Brayo, when they face Houston.